Welcome students to another session in the series on digital marketing. In today's session, we would cover about content marketing plan. As always, before we move forward, we would do a quick recap of what we did in the previous session. So students, in the previous session on digital marketing, we discussed about the refinement strategy and had a close look at how one can implement web analytics and can create a measurement framework in order to gauge as to how well the digital marketing efforts have worked for a particular organization. In light with the results that you achieve, the firms then have a decision or can go ahead with the refinement of their digital marketing strategy, which would require again a definition of what their digital marketing goals are, how they can measure the achievement of the objectives. They need to analyze at and finally improve or eliminate some of those steps or strategies which they feel they are not working in the favor of the organization or they are not resulting in any sort of an accomplishment of the broader digital marketing goals. We also had a discussion in the second part of the session related to the operation strategy, where we discussed about the lead generation, lead nurturing, lead scoring, how you convert your web pages to the landing pages and so on. Now we would be starting an intense discussion on the intent related to the content that a digital marketing would be preparing. Now, when you look at the content marketing plan, students, we find these 8 stages. 1. You have a goal, you work on your audience, create an idea, give some plan to that particular idea in terms of creating a storyline or a storyboard, distribute the content, amplify it, evaluate the content at regular intervals and take steps to improve it. The first stage of goal setting. Now students, in this stage, a firm has to decide on the key objectives that it wants the content marketing to serve for it. The goals can be broadly categorized into 2 categories. One, there can be some sales related goals. Now what are these sales related goals? The goals which actually take you closer to realization or conversion of sales. So to what extent a firm has been able to generate the leads or has been able to close the order or the sales, has been able to refer the sales to others, or how many people have referred that particular product or that item to others, would all be a part of the sales related goals. When you talk about the brand related goals, we are talking about how well the digital marketing effort is doing for a particular brand in terms of generating awareness, making people more closely and emotionally associated with the brand, creating brand loyalty, and is also resulting in a positive word of mouth or advocacy for that particular brand. Now, we understand students that without having proper objectives in place, it would be very difficult for any digital marketer to move forward. You will be lost, especially when you begin with your content creation and you exactly do not know how and what content to present and what this content should ultimately do for your business. Therefore, it is very, very important for an organization or for a business to align its goal with the overall business objectives, and not only that, also translate it into key metrics or key measurement indicators against which the efforts of the content marketing can be evaluated at regular intervals of time. This second step in the content marketing plan relates to defining the audience. Now, what is audience definition, or how can you go about defining an audience base? This is where you identify a specific audience group and then work towards creating a specific content which would be more aligned to the requirements, information requirements of that particular audience group, that is the audience subset. Now these audience subsets, so these groups can be created and identified keeping in mind the same segmentation variables that you keep in mind in terms of your broader marketing activities. So the audience parameters which will help you in creating the subset and the subgroups of audience and then looking at a particular subset when you are creating the content for that particular group. It can be geographical base, it can be the demographic factors that can be used, it can be psychographic basis of creating the audience subgroups, or it could be the behavioral segmentation. Now when you are understanding the core audience, we have discussed it in some of the previous early sessions about the buyer persona and how digital marketing has to really reap content and insights out of the understanding of the buyer persona. Now the same buyer persona and the understanding of it is going to come handy when a digital marketer is trying to create the content, because the content has to be created in accordance with the buyer persona and also should in a way map the entire journey of the consumer. You need to discover certain pain points of the consumers, certain aspirations, what do they really expect, what are they really looking for in terms of information from the content, their anxieties, their desires. All of these things will eventually help a firm in defining the need for having a specific content and therefore would also help them in creating that content. So the step 3, which is the ideation stage. You know what kind of buyer you are going to deal with in terms of the persona. You also know the group, you also know the content requirements. Now you have to work on finding the ideas as to how to create that particular specific content. Now when I talk about the content or the specific content, we are looking at a combination of certain things. Am I going to work with some themes which are going to be relevant for that particular audience group? Can I create some format? Can I design a narrative? Can I use a storyboard in order to convey the content and convey the information to that particular audience group? So I have to decide about the right theme and right way to move ahead. Now whenever students you design the content, one has to be very clear that the content should resonate with the lives of the consumers, and it will resonate with the lives of the consumers only when it is relevant to them. So the content should always be weighed at the ideation stage in terms of its relevance and resonance to the consumers' lives. You can weave certain stories, create certain stories which are going to convey better about a brand, its character, its strengths. You can create certain codes around the brand characters. You can also use the information which you have procured in the previous stage about the consumer's anxieties and their desires and their pain points to connect better and to give them a story which resonates well with their anxieties and their own expectations from that content. Step 4 talks about the creation. You have an idea. Now that idea has to be given a practical shape. It has to be literally be converted into a content. So in the creation stage of the content marketing plan, a business has to involve certain ways so that you are able to collate and map the available content. So lot of collating and mapping of the content which is already available has to take place. So whatever is available, you see to what extent it has a fit with the audience, to what extent or what portion of this available content can be used and can be, presented in a better manner or in the desired manner, keeping in mind what the consumer wants to know from you. Now, obviously, this is not something which can be achieved in a day or so. You have to put in, as a business, an enormous amount of effort, time, energy, also resources and cost, in order to work on that particular content, right? So this is just something which requires a lot of creativity and lot of thinking and deliberation, because at the end of the day you want to create a content which is of really high quality, which is a rich multimedia embedded content, and also an original content in terms of the idea and in terms of the information that you are putting in that content. So in a way, students, we can understand that content creation is not a one time exercise. It's a consistent and continuous process, and one has to invest a enormous amount of time in building, rebuilding, searching and researching, presenting and representing that particular content, keeping in mind the changes in consumers' expectations, in your brand journey, in their consumers' purchase journey, and so on and so forth, in order to have a better compatibility with what they are looking for and what you are presenting as a content to your consumer base. For developing the content, when we say that you have to work on regularly creating your content, a business has to do a lot of research, some of which can be handled internally in terms of looking at what are the trending topics, what are the regularly searched on areas and information. You can listen to certain social channels and work out around the points or the aspects on which the discussion is going on at present in the social groups. You can also map the content to the keywords around which the content is searched by the consumers on the net. You can develop various themes, and you can also experiment certain with certain new themes. You can ideate with the consumers and bring them on board, and have some participative mechanism to create a unique story, to weave the content. Now, when you set up your content and you actually decide on what should be my copy, what should be my script, and how that script should look, how should that content be designed, there is certain guideline which one has to take into consideration. You need to at the same time adhere to those guidelines and see that you are able to bring out the fine and unique aspects of your content, and therefore you have to style your content or maybe give voice to your content accordingly. Now, in addition to this internal support and internal research, the content team is also at times required to seek external support to not only develop the content at times, but also to review the existing content, repurpose the existing content, and also to decide on the content which should be developed, keeping in mind the present objectives for that business. In all the scenarios, obviously the ultimate goal would be the conversion. So the conversion goal should be decided for all forms of content that you are planning to develop. Accordingly, you can create content for different types or for different kinds of platforms. Like, what should be the content that should go in your web pages? What is the content that should go while you are going for emails? What kind of infographics one should work with? What is, if there is a certain blog and you need to work on your blog post, what kind of blog post are you looking at? What is the content which is going in your newsletter? What is how you are sharing your slides? What is the video content that you are working at? And all these things have to be aligned with the overall content that you are sharing with your viewers. Next step of the content marketing plan, students deal with distribution of content. Now, when we talk about distributing content, one needs to understand that there is no use of the content that is being created unless and until it reaches out to its intended audience. It is being distributed and it is delivered to the intended audience. So, you have to ensure that it is paid attention to, it is being captured and it is being discovered, it is being identified by the audience as the right content. Now, when you talk about this, you can make use of different distribution channels, and we have extensively discussed about the distribution channels under the ASCOR framework of the channel strategy. So, the channel strategy of that particular framework tells us that there can be different mediums. There can be, paid mediums, there can be owed mediums, there can be direct channels, indirect channels. Now, the same channel strategy will be useful for a business to distribute the content at this stage as a part of its content marketing plan. So, when you talk about the distribution channels, we are again looking at the channels which can be direct, and some of the direct channels would include channels like your emails or your phone calls, your text messages, the tweets or the posts that you make. Your indirect channels would be the search engine channels, online forums, network communities, the ads that you can place, both display ads and the other ads, your social media sites. And as a third group, there is a basket of referral channels which largely comprises of people who have used that particular content, or which have who have consumed that particular concept in content in the past, or who have experienced your brand, have transacted with your organization in the past, and now they emerge as influencers in the form of the buyers or friends, colleagues, or the industry analyst who can influence others to go through that particular content and can share the content with them. In addition to all this that we have analyzed and discussed as a part of our broader channel and media strategy, a business can use owned, paid, or maybe even viral media to distribute the content. So, as we have seen in case of the own content, it is typically executed through the channels which a firm owns. So, here also when you are using the own channels, the content marketing would be executed, or your content would be delivered by the business through the channels that it owns. Like the website is a channel that you own, or maybe you have a blog of your own, and that is the content that you are going to deliver through your blog. You can also organize certain webinars, and therefore it is your choice as a business to decide what all content you would be presenting and you would be covering in your webinar. The placement of the ad in a format which is native to the online channel can also be used as one of the mediums. So, like in this case, you would be talking about the sponsored or the branded content. So, this is a native content, like you may be having certain tweets that you post on Twitter, which is going to constitute your paid content. When you talk about rich medium, and you also make use of rich media content as a part of your overall content, in addition to what you write in the form of your text, you can also have videos which can be used as a part of your viral medium, and therefore there is a viral marketing that you can initiate because people have a habit of sharing those videos, and they pay more attention to such kind of rich multimedia content because of the quick spread and because of the greater impact that it is going to generate. Apart from text, you can also distribute this kind of content as a part of your viral medium. This next stage, student talks about amplification. That is how you amplify, how you increase the reach of your content, and therefore the content will be of no use unless and until you are going to peak it up, you make it go viral in a sense, and therefore this is something which constitutes an important stage of your entire content marketing plan. So students, we will shortly take this forward. Thank you.